And look who's back. As you can see, I'm coming to you from a secret location, my anti-coronavirus bunker. Actually, I'm just in a different room in the house. But if you see in that corner, look, there's Fucko the dog. Hey, Leo. You see, he's very concerned about the pandemic that we're all facing. Okay, this video is going to be a couple of things. One, it's actually going to be somewhat firearms related. I have a couple of things I want to talk about. One being my SIG 365. Two, these Badger grips. Three, maybe the 629 a little bit. And I'll cover a few other things that are actually firearm related. But before I get into that, I made in my last video, I called it Coronavirus Madness. And it was done somewhat tongue in cheek. It was done somewhat out of my frustration that I had of the herd mentality of people that I'm seeing around here, at least. New York certainly doesn't corner the market on stupidity, but we're pretty fucking high up there. And again, the toilet paper thing, which still has not subsided. Still, toilet paper. Somebody please put in the comments what the fuck everybody is hoarding toilet paper for, okay? But I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off on that tangent. There's enough internet memes about that. I also said a few other things. Again, some tongue-in-cheek, some humorous, back and forth. You know, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not very serious about a whole lot of things. And also, YouTube isn't real. You know, you realize a lot of this is a character. You know what I mean? I got some comments either way. I always take positive and negative comments. And I certainly, you know, I'll finish up my thought on that in a minute. But I got one particular comment from someone named Michael. If I'm pronouncing, it looks like you wrote SSOL, Sasol. Is that a name, or maybe it's a pseudonym, or whatever it is? But Michael, let's just call him Michael. And he was very upset with. I guess he thought I made light of this pandemic that we're living in, and the end of days, and the apocalypse that we're all trying to hashtag get through together. And he said something. He mentioned Italy has 5,500 deaths in this certain amount of time, and it's more than the flu has killed there. And you know, a genius. And he finishes up with some, I guess, you know, right wing comment that, you know, what right wing people can't understand about that. Now, I'm going to start off with that. The reason why, okay, look, I'm not saying that the coronavirus is not dangerous. It's certainly dangerous. It's very dangerous to a certain segment of our population. Me, I am not concerned about it. I'm not. Okay, but other people, I know elderly people, I know people with pre-existing conditions, they should certainly be concerned about it. We should certainly take precautions. I'm not making light of how serious this can be for some people. Okay, but what makes me temper that is when I see a few things. When this becomes a hashtag generating event, like the hashtag together and hashtag this and hashtag that. Whenever people start assigning hashtags to something, it makes me think that it's kind of a made up kind of cause. Okay, not this is made up. This is a very serious thing that's happening right now. But whenever you get that type of thing going, it makes me kind of look at it and say, well, what's going on here? And then why right wing? Why? Because I have a half-ass gun channel. It makes me right wing. You don't know my political ideology. I've said, might have even mentioned it in a previous video. You might be surprised about how my politics lean. I'm not any wing. Okay, I'm one of the last of the, apparently, to look at the news. You would think there are none of us, but I would like to think that we are still majority. I am kind of moderate. I'm kind of middle of the road. Yes, I break right on some things, but I break left on a lot of other things. It's also unfortunate that the only in a two-party system that we have in this country, the Democrats who represent the left side of thing have gone so far off the fucking reservation that I can't even take them seriously anymore. They have gone so far left that they actually, to me, seem anti-American and un-American. So it kind of leaves me in this, in this last election. You talk to people who know me. I was not thrilled with Donald Trump. He was not my candidate that I was. Honestly, every time the guy opens his mouth, I kind of cringe a little bit. But I will give him this: he knows his target audience, and he got himself elected in a landslide. So he must know what he's doing. But throughout that whole campaign, I was like, oh man, come on, Donald, I want you to win, because we can't have that fucking criminal in there with her pantsuits. But you got to shut up. But he seems to know what he's doing as far as working the crowd, so good for him. But again, the fact that Michael is just assuming my political ideology because of maybe my channel or what I said, and again, guns aside, how could my statements on this disease denote my political ideology? How do you know I'm right wing? Because I feel a certain way, because I think that maybe people might be overacting to something. I don't know. And what was I supposed to do? You want me to get on the video? Want me to get on, make a video and say, oh my God, we should all panic? What exactly are you shooting for here? Should I get it? Like a lot, like our politicians have apparently seem to take pleasure in getting on TV and basically telling us to what, panic? And the president has has a press conference saying that things actually are looking good in certain ways, and we like the way the direction we're taking. And he gets attacked by the press corps as to spreading false hope. What would you have him do? Get on the with the presidential seal, set it on fire, and make a whole press conference about just screaming around saying, "Oh my God, we're all gonna die"? No, you're trying to push a little calm out there. You're trying to keep your head about yourselves. So I don't know, again, I started to ramble there. The political ideology part of it, when how he just assumes I'm a certain way because I felt a certain way about people taking toilet paper, I'm not quite sure where that came from. But he does start giving in some numbers, and he mentions Italy. And Italy does have a higher proportion of deaths than what we're seeing around the world. And, I would say on the front of that, I would say, well, we're not in Italy. We're not in Italy. This is the United States. We're not talking about Italy here. But if I say something like that, I kind of sound like Hitler. So I have a few ideas, and I've done a little research as to why the death rate is so high in Italy. And the first thing that jumps out at you is that Italy has the second oldest population in the world. The highest percentage of people over 65 in the world. They've come in second behind Japan. Now, Japan, I think, is relatively low on a death rate, but we're talking about two different countries here, okay? Italy, where it is, landlocked part of Europe, which is attached to Asia. I don't know what their demographics are, but, you're going to have a lot. Japan has the two advantages of being, one, having natural isolation by a body of water, and two, the Japanese, without sending anyone a tizzy, the Japanese are one of the most xenophobic cultures in the world, okay? You want to talk about open borders? Good luck with that shit in Japan. So they have that advantage going for them. But also, it's besides the fact that it's the older population that Italy has, we don't know what their medical facilities are. It's a very old country. It's maybe kind of spread out. There are a lot of rural areas. We don't know exactly what it is. We don't know how it started. I got my hair, right the day that the barbershops closed, I ran out and got myself a haircut so I didn't start looking like Jesus Christ. And my barbershop is my barber's an old Italian man. And he was talking about Italy and why things kind of spread the way they are. And I'm not going to begin to repeat what he said, because then you'll all be calling me racist. But this is coming from him. But his theory is in the back of my mind as to why Italy has the issues that it's having. I'll leave that up to him, seeing as how he's actually from there, still has property there. I'll leave that to him. You could, look him up if you want to see what he feels about that. But, Italy is what it is. We are a separate beast. But since we're talking numbers, I did some basic numbers. And the reason why this whole thing, this pandemic, we live in a world that I think, because of social media that gives everybody a voice, and because we're trending younger on social media, there's a lot of people out there who will stick a camera in front of their face who think that if it didn't happen after 1990, then it didn't happen. Okay? I'm of an age where I can tell you all of this has happened before. There's nothing unprecedented about what's going on right now except what our reaction to it is. I'm old enough to remember when Legionnaire's disease was going to kill us all. Okay, you guys can look that up. I'm old enough to remember that, hearing that on the radio, probably WOR, AM radio. Okay, when that was going to all kill us all. I've seen this before, and the fact that we've seen this before, just some basic numbers. Yeah, coronavirus. It's last time I checked a couple of days ago. What is it? 500,000 cases in the world, 23,000 deaths thereabout, which is about a 3.4 death rate according to the CDC, 3.4%, but it's as low as 0.4% in some places. And again, that depends on facilities and how industrialized the nation might just be. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's very serious. But, we also have to take that with, from the CDC, the flu since October of 1919, the flu, 38 to 54 million cases in the planet, which generated 17 to 25 million doctor visits, which resulted in 390 to 710,000 hospital visits, which resulted anywhere between 23,000 and 59,000 deaths from the flu since October. Okay? This shit happens. Let's also not forget, the Spanish flu. Spanish flu. Was that racist back then? I don't know. Spanish flu. 50 million deaths from the Spanish flu. Okay. Other numbers, we're getting 1 billion cases of the flu annually. Was that what I'm saying? 1 billion cases? H1N1 in 2009 when we had a Democrat in the White House. H1N1, 1.6 billion cases worldwide. 60 million cases in the United States of H1N1, resulting in 248,000 deaths worldwide, with 12,000 deaths in the United States from H1N1. We didn't close down the fucking country for that. Maybe we should have. Now that I read those numbers, I was around 2009 like we all were. I don't remember being that fucking serious. I don't remember everyone getting on the news telling us to panic. I don't remember closing down everything when that and 12,000 people in the United States died from H1N1, 248,000 deaths worldwide from H1N1. Unless these numbers are totally off, I'm just, like I said, I'm just getting them online from the CDC. Where was, that's what I said. Pandemics, this is not unprecedented. Our reaction to it is unprecedented. And I'm always giving it that sideways glance when I see the politicalization of these things from this pandemic. And again, what am I talking about? Well, that House relief bill, it started at 1.8 trillion, now it's a $2 trillion relief bill that Democrats shot down for whatever reason, but now it's going to pass. And then the finger pointing back and forth. I'm sorry, folks. If this was an extinction level event, if this really was the end of days, there'd be no room for political infighting. They would just do what they have to do. Now, I don't have the time, the inclination, or honestly, I can't be bothered to get myself that aggravated to go through that relief bill line by line to see what was stuck in there, to see what private cause is getting this money and what politicians getting that money, and how this thing's being funneled towards some special interest, which I'm sure it's in there. It's $2 trillion motherfucking dollars. Okay? You think it's all going to the American people? Do you think as it passed through all the machinations of our government, do you think there are no special interests in there? Do you think it's not being funneled to some fucking shadow organization? You think it's not being funneled to some family member through 6 degrees of separation to get this money somehow back into these politicians' pockets? Why do you think they're all millionaires when their salary is only supposed to be like $100,000 a year? Okay? If there's room to politicize it, then I don't think it's as serious as they're actually making it out to be. And that's really how to look at it. And, and I'm not even a conspiracy theory guy. I'm not even going to try and put it out there to you to say, geez, it's an election year. It's one that, didn't some comedian a few years back say that the way to get Trump out was if the economy tanks? I'm not that much of a conspiracy theory. I'm also not that much of a conspiracy theorist to say, how come the deaths in North Korea and Russia are comparatively low to the rest of the world when the thing originated in communist China? Why do you think that is? No, I'm not saying that, because if I was to say that, I'd be a conspiracy theory guy. I'd also be a conspiracy theory guy if I floated the idea that this is actually a biological warfare weapon that was released and it's an attack on our economy in the West. That would be a total conspiracy theory guy. I'm not saying that. Anyway, that's my rant on the coronavirus. Now, let me put a bow on it like this. It is serious, just like the flu is serious, just like H1N1 was serious, just like SARS was serious, just like all these things are serious. We have to be very careful, especially to be exposed to the most at-risk portions of our population. And one thing I will say about coronavirus, it seems to be incredibly contagious. That's what it seems to be, very contagious. And because of that, when you get something like H1N1, which may have had a much higher rate, a much higher mortality rate, but wasn't as contagious, when you're dealing with something like with coronavirus, which seems to be extremely contagious, although I'm not concerned. For all I know, I might have already had it. I felt like shit like 3 weeks ago. Did I have it and I passed it? Maybe. My wife felt like shit 4 weeks ago. She couldn't get out of bed, and then she got up before we all knew the end of the world was ending. Did she have it and passed it like hundreds of thousands of people are doing around the world? Maybe. Now, with that being said, should we be sure to stay away from, keep a little social distance? Yeah, not because I'm concerned about dying. I'm not. We should be concerned that because it's so contagious, even though it has anywhere between 0.4% mortality rate and a 2 or 3% mortality rate, if it's so contagious that 7 billion people in the world get it, we'll do that math. 2% of 7 billion is a fuck of a lot more than like 5% of a few 100,000. So if it's so contagious that conceivably every living soul on this planet could get it, then yes, this is going to kill a lot of people, because there are a lot of people. There are a lot of older people, a lot of people with people. I think they said if you take chemotherapy for cancer, you're at risk. This is dangerous stuff. It's dangerous stuff, and I get it. I just have to look at it sideways when it becomes a hashtag parade. And when people are on TV, when all these companies already, I'm looking at my television now, when all these companies already have their coronavirus commercials out, like we're all going to get through this together and we're all going to do this, but be sure to buy our shit still. I don't know. I don't know if we'd still be getting commercials like that if there was an asteroid about to fucking wipe us off the planet, off the planet, right? That's that's what I'm a little concerned about. I think I will wrap it up on that. Now let's get into the gun stuff. Okay, first segment, firearms related. You've been seeing lately, I've been doing a bunch of videos with my trusty Ruger GP100. Maybe not this as the star, but it appeared in some videos. And some of you might have noticed I had a different grips on it. One was those pearlescent grips, which I just put on because I thought they looked cool. But I've been running it with these recently. These are the Hogue Tamer grips. Not that I'm overly concerned. They absorb recoil a little bit better. Like I said, this is a big heavy gun, and 357 Magnum doesn't really, in a gun this size, I don't think it's something that requires a Tamer grip. But I got it for this because I picked up the Tamer grips for this thing, the 629. I said, oh, you know what? Let me give it a shot because this is a utility gun. It doesn't have to look overly pretty. Let me just throw a pair on there. But some of you've been noticing what happened to my Badgers, the Badgers that I did 2 videos on that I love so much, and I do love them. But here's my issue, and it's gonna have to be sent back in. Let me see if I can get them up to the camera. You see, I'm getting scratches on them. I noticed at first when I did my requalification for my federal carry. I had these grips on it when I did it because I wanted to requalify with both a semi-auto and a revolver so I can carry both throughout the country. And I was still hanging up, even though they took some material off. And I noticed that after a few more shooting sessions hanging up, and yeah, maybe I could sand it down and finish it myself. But Badger has good customer service, so I'm going to send them back. So let's just call this part 1 of whatever, and we'll see what they do. Maybe they will finally just cut it out. But in any case, I want these to be kind of pristine because these are really nice. Whereas these, again, these are strictly utility. And this is, of all the guns I own, this one is the most utilitarian of all of them. This, as you know, is my nightstand gun. This is my quick and dirty 357 revolver, stainless steel 3-inch revolver that I keep available in my bed while I'm sleeping. Where it is going to be a surprise in case any of you motherfuckers want to come for me after my coronavirus rant. But this is the most utilitarian, so I don't really care if it looks pretty. But if I do actually carry this, like I mentioned before, these grips, they're very snaggy. And if you're going to be carrying these things, I'd rather have something like this. 1 for the lower profile and 2 for this lack of snag. And with the finger grooves, though, it still gives me a great purchase. These are very comfortable grips, but I'm going to want to get those set up well before they're ready for prime time. And then you'll start seeing this when I start doing my revolver stuff again. But also, again, I'm doing bullshit videos like this, long-winded videos like this, because what else am I going to do? The goddamn range is closed. And also, if you notice, I'm not wearing my red sleeveless or any of my sleeveless shirts because I'm not coming or going to the gym. They close fucking gyms around here. I'm losing my fucking mind. That's why I'm making videos like this. Anyway, that's my Badger update. On to the next gun topic. I don't know what that was. Since I mentioned this, I might as well give you another thing. I did put these are the Hogue Tamer grips, and it's actually a very cushiony, you can't see, it's like a blue insert, and it's very cushiony, and it really fits the hand very well. And this thing, I did do 1 shooting session. I don't know if I put it on video for you or not. I'm losing my mind. It makes a big difference. Again, it still kicks like a bitch because, it's a 44 Magnum, but it did not tear the flesh off my hand anymore. Love it. These are what I'm going to run with because, again, this is a utility gun. If I carry it, it's going to be in the woods upstate, sometimes some type of chest rig, and it's more important that I control the thing. One thing I did notice after putting some rounds through it, I do like this. The swing out, the Hogue extended cylinder release. I did, however, notice that after 1 session at the range, it started to back the screw out, and it was making it a little bit difficult to get the cylinder open. So a little bit of Loctite, a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads in there, just a tiny bit, just to keep that screw where it is, and should be good to go. There's the update on the 629. Next topic is a little more what I really want to make this video for. I was hoping to do shooting with it, but we'll go to the 365 now. Okay, now on to what prompted me to make this. My trusty SIG 365. No issues. It's still fantastic. But I was breaking it down and cleaning it the other day just because what else am I going to do besides clean guns, because I can't go to the fucking range. And when I popped it out, I noticed, I hope this comes up, I might actually utilize this little camera to get close-ups if this doesn't show. And yeah, you see, it's not showing up well, but you see in the corner here, that ain't showing up at all, motherfucker. You see up here, I noticed it was getting a little bit of a wear mark, okay? I'm thinking to myself, well, what the fuck is that all about? We're clear. What was that all about? So I'm putting my finger up in here because you remember when I did the flat trigger install, it came with a separate post for the trigger and it came with a separate spring. Now, I was happy because I'd heard, and let's see if we could I was happy because when I'd gotten this particular model, I had mentioned, in fact, let's take this all the way down. I had mentioned that one of the issues that they complained about was that sometimes that trigger spring was impacting and scratching the back of the magazine, because this thing here, here's the spring. I might do still photographs of this, or maybe just do the segment on the camera. This spring here, this part right here, and I'm definitely going to do this on the other camera. It comes out here, and this is where the magazine, if it goes up there, and it sits kind of right there. And if that little spring protrudes a little bit, even a little bit, yeah, the whole segment's going to be done on camera with the good camera. If that protrudes a little bit, it'll extend and scratch. Now, the spring that came with it, which this is now, I actually took it apart and replaced it. It didn't contact it at all. My magazines were pristine. When I put that other spring in that came with the kit, it stuck out just a pubic hair, just a pubic hair. If I use the C word, my wife kills me. It stuck out just a pubic hair, and I didn't notice it to feel it, but it just did it just a little bit, and it was starting to mar up my magazine a little bit. So I took that out and I put the original spring back in, and it's all good. And the function is exactly the same. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know why they included that spring and that post with the kit. No damage, no real damage at all. It was just really an abrasion, not even a cutting or a scoring. But I don't know why they did it, especially since it's a little. I will say this about SIG: it's a little disconcerting that their tolerances, I mean, you remember this thing, it hasn't changed. And I called SIG about it, and they were kind of non-committal. I said, well, you could put you should have put a little drop of oil on the barrel hood there, and that would do it. And you know what? I don't have my Gen 2 Glock 19, but here's the Gen 4 Glock 19. It's got nothing. My Gen 2 is 26, 27, 28 years old, and you know what? It has nothing. I still find a little disconcerting that a new design like this, the tolerances are so close and also so random, because it doesn't happen on all guns. This doesn't happen on all guns. They're so close that things like that can happen. It's a little disappointing in that aspect of it. I love that my SIG, and I would get another SIG based upon how it performs, but I'm worried a little bit that they're doing stuff like that. And when you look at this, and I'll point it out when I put it on the high-def camera, yeah, one spring is a little bit longer than the other spring. Why do you think they did that? I'd be more inclined to say, why not have this be totally captured? Why is it necessary to have the open end of this spring in a position where it even could possibly contact the magazine? What would it cost you to just move this over just a pubic hair and enclose it in polymer so that there's no, even if the spring was a little too long, it would just be off-seated a little bit and it wouldn't make any difference? Why design it that way? Makes me worry a little bit. I'm not going to put this totally back together because I'm going to refilm this segment on camera, and I'll talk over to what I'm showing you. And I think on to my next and final segment. Okay, take two, because take one I held it too close to the camera, and now I have to redo it with my wife here. Okay, so I can barely see it, but maybe the camera picks it up. This is what I'm talking about. This is the trigger spring, and this is the original one that I put back in after I noticed what it was doing to my magazine.
Coronavirus!
Nice. Actually, it's very topical, hon. A big portion of this video was about the coronavirus. Um, in any case, I replaced the spring and the one that came with the kit. And although it looked identical, this part right here, I'm not going to get too close, this part right here where it kind of sits in the front, this is where your magazine goes in. And if that spring protrudes a little bit, you get that little guy right there. Now it looked exactly the same, and that's why I switched it, and it felt the same, but it was just slightly off on its tolerances or how they manufactured it, so it was sticking out just a little bit more than this one is. Which leads me to the point that I mentioned before, and that is, it's a little concerning that Sig Sauer, one, that their tolerances appear to be so random. It happens on some guns and not other guns. And two, why would they include a second spring that would possibly do that? Why is that spring in there at all when I felt no difference? Why was that other pin in there when it didn't even fit in this particular model of gun? And again, another point is in the design. Why even design it like that? Why have it so that it's even possible for the spring to protrude into the magwell? Why not have this closed off and the spring just captured behind it? It is still more than enough meat there on the spring that it could be captured in an enclosed space and not have it sitting right out into the magwell. It's a puzzling design, and in this particular case, it didn't work out for me. But again, it never once did the gun malfunction, and I didn't notice it except that I was just so bored. I was cleaning my guns, and I noticed that my magazine was getting scratched. So that's about it. Anything else, hon?
Coronavirus.
Nice. Actually, my final segment should have been sandwiched in between the first Corona rant and when I started talking about guns. This is another aspect of the my rant that I did on my coronavirus madness. And although I didn't catch any flack off of it, in fact, the comments were largely positive from that rant. I did touch on the fact that I became aware of this panic buying thing, not just from the toilet paper, but when I stopped by, I foolishly thought I was going to actually be able to go to the range that day, but the range was closed due to the national emergency that we're currently experiencing. And I just stopped by my local firearms dealer just to pick up some ammo. Why not do that? To do that. And I had to line out the door, wondering what was going on. And as I found out, much to my chagrin at the time, was that people were panic buying shotguns. I've seen a lot of other gun channels on YouTube, and they made me. I do understand. And now I was ranting, and again, I rant to kind of get into character. I try to inject some humor because in lieu of real firearms testing that I can't do where I live, I have to infuse some personality and some insights into it. And I went off on a bit of a tangent on these guys. And look, I do agree with what the other firearms channels are saying. I welcome new gun owners into the gun community. I do, regardless of the circumstances, because even if half of these people sell the things when this pandemic is over, even if half the people sell the guns back at a loss, we've picked up 50% of that group into this camp. And this camp being, it shouldn't be a political definition to it. It should just be people who think it's a good idea to exercise their Second Amendment rights and to have a weapon available to protect themselves and their families. That was a great idea. Everyone should take advantage. Every American citizen should take advantage of that fact, because, believe it or not, people, I was a cop. This is coming from an ex-cop. Thinking that the police are going to save you is a fallacy. This whole country, especially in New York, operates on the honor system. We cannot be everywhere, and we weren't everywhere. And I certainly tried, but we were not everywhere. By the time, when you call 911, by the time the cops get there, they're getting there in time to secure the crime scene, okay? That putting tape around bodies is strictly on TV. That doesn't happen. But the police are getting there in time to secure the crime scene or to give rape counseling to the women. That's all they're doing. Unless it's pure luck. Unless we happen to be outside and hear a gunshot, that's pure luck. Everyone should have a firearm to protect their family. And the fact that it took this to convince that many New Yorkers that it's a good idea to have one, okay, that's really what I was doing. And I think the point of my rant was, are you the same people that were voting assholes like Andrew Cuomo into office all these years? Are you the same people who made the state assembly and state senate majority Democrat? and they're doing nothing but trying to infringe on our gun rights here? Are you the same people? And this is a rant that's directed at New Yorkers. You people in the free states, you could go get a bag of chips right now. Are you the same people that were doing that? Okay, so I was kind of calling bullshit, and I was kind of calling hypocrisy that now all of a sudden you think you needed a gun. Because before this, the police were fine to protect you, right? We have law in this country. What is it saying, The Godfather? You have the police and the courts to protect you, and until what's his name's daughter got jumped, right? Watch The Godfather. That was the point of my rant. In thinking at it more, again, welcome to the club. Hopefully you stay in the club. Hopefully you realize that, you know what, you don't want your rights to be infringed like that. Maybe we should keep these guns, and maybe we should actually expand it. And in New York, the rest of the country is experienced panic buying in guns. New York, there's only one panic buy you can do, and that's a shotgun, as I explained. You don't need a permit. And I can never get this thing in frame. Oh, look at that, I can. You don't need a permit in New York, a gun permit in New York to own a shotgun. They do your background check on, and you could walk out with a shotgun. And it's a great home defense weapon. And I would love to go off on the things, a lot of the gun channels that are out there, and good for them. They're doing tutorials on for first time handgun owners, and going through the benefits of revolvers or semi-autos, things of that nature. Refer to one of those gun channels. They're doing a good job on it, because maybe in their state you can panic buy a handgun. Can't do that here. You can panic buy a shotgun. And you know what? Someone's probably doing it. I'm not going to go through a shotgun tutorial. As I've said, my level of training and expertise with a shotgun is no way approaches my level of training and expertise with handguns. So I don't want to be doing a disservice to anybody, especially a new gun owner. I'm sure there's a channel out there that's going to talk you through a shotgun and how to use it. My only advice is, at least this Mossberg 500. Model 500, and a lot of shotguns like it are not drop safe. So if you're going to keep one in the chamber, you might want to rethink that idea, especially, since a shotgun, it's not really an instantly bring to battle type of gun, at least not for me. Okay. But if you're a new gun buyer, by all means, good idea, good choice. Next step in New York anyway, get yourself a pistol permit. And then the next step coming in November, let's start getting some pro-gun politicians in office. So maybe, just maybe, your wife, your daughter, your children can put something like, I didn't put it back together, can put something like this in her handbag or wear this on her person. And maybe, the police will be arriving and it'll be a crime scene, but it'll be a crime scene to fucking piece together that piece of shit who tried to rape her, instead of taking her to rape counseling. Okay? That's just my thoughts on that. I think that's about it. Let me put all this shit away, and we'll put a bow on this. Okay, now here's the bow. This is really all I can do for a while, because I can't go out in my backyard and shoot. I got plenty of ammo though, but I can't go out and shoot. If you're at this part of the video and you stuck through it with me, thank you, because I rambled, because what else am I going to do? I'm losing my fucking mind here. If this video came together like I wanted to, I had already shot the footage with my high def camera here, and detailing exactly what I was talking about on the SIG and that spring. And I'd like to, if any of you guys did the flat trigger install, hit the comments if you could. Let me know if you used that spring, or if you found a way to make that post fit. Let me know if you experienced the same type of thing, or if you did do the flat trigger install and you used that spring that came with it. Check your magazines. Maybe you didn't notice it because it was marring mine up, or maybe again their manufacturing is so random at SIG that maybe your spring was fine and it didn't scratch up the magazine. So hit me up with that comment. And other than that, when the range is open and the world gets back to normal, and the asteroid that's about to end all life on Earth misses us and we can go back outside again, I am going to do that revolver thing. And if you forgot, I'm going to basically run a revolver, and I'm going to do it how we used to run revolvers in the NYPD qualifying. How we did, the whole thing about the reloading and the unloading, and how we managed it, how we handled it. And if you watch Paul Harrell's latest video, he did a big rebuttal thing about what you should do as far as ejecting spent casing, stuff like that, or where you should be looking while you're loading. I'll cover that too, because the NYPD had very definite instruction on both of those issues. And if you want in the comments of this video, for all 6 of you, if you want to give me a comment, let me know when I do make that video if you want me to utilize the old trusty GP100 for that revolver video, or if you want me to swing back into the Wayback Machine and bring the old model NY64 old service revolver 38 special back into the mix, and I could show you the old thing that we used to do on the firing line. So let me know. Give me a vote. What do you want to see me do it with? The GP100 or the Smith & Wesson? Other than that, until then, seriously, let's all keep our heads about us. Wash your hands. Exercise good personal hygiene, which you should be doing anyway. I was going to mention something just now, but not because I could see I'm looking at different things. I'll wait till the next video because my wife's making fun of me for it. But exercise good personal hygiene. Keep that, the social distancing thing. I hate that snappy little word they gave it, but it's a good idea. Again, I have no concern for myself. I have no concern for just about anybody, within a certain group. But you should have concern for those of us who are at most risk. So keep that in mind. Don't congregate. Let this blow over. Keep clean. Wash your hands. Don't be breathing on people. Don't be wearing each other, like fucking like clothes over here. And we actually are going to all hashtag get through this. Let's just keep our heads about us. Okay? So until next time, thanks for watching.